And what is up, guys? Technical Stinkers here. This is a completely just straight up kind of rant video. If you're familiar with my channel, you know that I typically record like and bank episodes. So the vlogs that you're seeing right now that came out Friday, I filmed that like 2-3 weeks ago, and I spaced them out to give myself like buffer so I'm not ever under the gun to get episodes out. Call that what you will, but that's how I do it. And so in that first episode, I was having trouble with the Orange Storm Giga, the Infinity Flow. Since then, the Orange Storm Giga has been just in a completely down because of the X gantry motor issue. And you'll see that in the upcoming vlogs. And I know this kind of derails that whole mystique of like, following along in the vlog, me like communicating that to you, like, this is where it's gonna end up. But I've been going at this thing for a while now, and this isn't me just like trashing the Giga, but it made me think like, okay, I'm getting into the tinkering aspect with this, and if you're familiar with the channel, again, you know that I'm not like, I've not been in 3D printing for like a super long time. Got into about 1.5 years ago, but learning a lot of different printers coming in. Another common criticism I get, you shouldn't have all these different printers. Like, yeah, if you're running a print farm and printing stuff, yeah, I agree with that, but I'm not running a print farm, I'm running a 3D printing YouTube channel, and so having a lot of different printers is probably a good thing. But with the Orange Storm Giga, I'm learning a lot, and as I'm tearing things down, I've got some notes. Basically, the problem is that the X motor just is not, it's not responding, it's not working. Try to replacement motor. Elegoo's sending me cables, but that was a 1.5 weeks ago that they said they were shipping it. It still has not shipped, and these are just cables. These are just JST cables. I might just make my own, but I pulled the cables out, so I have to keep it. It's still not working, but I've got notes on not just the Orange Storm Giga, but large format printing in general. Again, if you watch the channel, you know I'm always having problems with this thing. And I kind of came to a conclusion, and to put it most succinctly is, this is kind of like a message to 3D print manufacturers. When you're going for a large format printer, again, only my noob opinion, stop trying to make a large printer from a small printer. Now what I mean by that is, you can kind of see in like the layout of this, it's really just like they took a small printer and said, how do we make this big? And it's like, make the gantry bigger, add 4 heat beds instead of 1. Use just the biggest motors that we have on the shelf. Use the same nozzle, 0.4 nozzle. You can see what I'm getting at here. This is just a like super sized up regular size printer, and I think that's kind of where the first point is, that they're going wrong on this. Stop trying to make small printers big. Make a big printer. And most of my other notes kind of reinforce this. Okay, so first up, the Orange Storm Giga, when it's in its heat up cycle, when it's ramping up and you got all 4 beds active in the print, it pulls close to 2,000 watts to heat up the beds and everything to get it ready. And that's, for a good 5-10 minutes that it's doing that. That's absolutely unreasonable for anybody in a residential application, because most people don't want to dedicate a circuit to one 3D printer. Most people don't even know that one outlet does not equal one circuit. I think a lot of people think like one out, that's a circuit right there. No, it's like your whole bedroom is a circuit, your whole kitchen is a circuit, etc., etc. Pulling 2,000 watts on this thing, now it doesn't pull that while it's printing. It's usually less, even if it's like a full-size print. It's maybe like 500, 600, but you get the idea is that that's just too much. So they need to like think about that. Well, most people can't afford to put in a whole separate circuit, even if they are buying a $2,500 printer. Paying an electrician an equal amount of money to put in a brand new circuit just for a printer, it's unreasonable. So just make it take longer to ramp up. Put one small or one large heater on it and dial it down. Make it take up 1,000 watts or whatever a space heater usually does. So yeah, it might take 15-20 minutes to heat up the print bed and everything associated with it, but you're not pulling that like insane amount of wattage just to get it heated up. Again, I think that's an example of how they took just regular size 3D print components and copy pasted it, and it's like, well, we have 4 heat beds, we need 4 power supplies, so let's just pull 2,000 watts to heat it up. Second thing, it needs to go pellet extrusion. So I've had a few messages back and forth with Ginger Additive. Their machines are hella expensive, but I hope to get one. I told them I'd do as many videos as you want on it because I think the thing is just badass. Now it's basically an Orange Storm Giga, but like someone left it, Ninja Turtles, where Shredder fell into the ooze and became Super Shredder. That's what a Ginger Additive machine is. It's a 6 foot, so 72 by 72 inches. I'm not sure what that is in millimeters. It's freaking huge, and it does not use filament. It's a pellet extrusion machine, so you feed pellets into it, and it spits out the melted molten plastic. Now it's a big thick layer line as far as I know, but I think that's almost required because, again, another example of them trying to make a small printer big is they're using regular 1.75 millimeter filament in this thing, and it's just, there's a lot of problems I've found personally associated with that, mainly with thermal expansion and contraction. Several of the models in the past that I've done, especially ones with big overhangs with a lot of supports, they just get cool over time because it's, you know, a drafty machine. I have a pseudo enclosure, a quasi enclosure on this thing, and even still, it's gonna cause thermal issues with the print, and that's going to cause it to move, which might cause the nozzle to contact it, rip it off the bed, screw up the print, make layer lines, etc. And if not pellet extrusion, some kind of integrated filament switching system like the Infinity Flow, it needs to be built into the machine because, like I've been remarking before, I got the Infinity Flow so it can always have filament running, because there are several times where the filament ran out and I went to replace it, but the print is so huge that thermal expansion and contraction made the print to where if it started to print again, it would fail, it would crack, it would leave a big gap. It's just, you can't leave it for really any amount of time without it printing before it's going to screw up the print. You get what I'm saying? I know a lot of people say like, well, you should just, you know, watch your print. I'm not going to watch my print every 10 minutes. I'm just not going to do that. I know some of you guys do that, but this print, you know, the prints on this machine take like days. And so if I'm asleep, I'm not going to wake up and I'm not going to be meticulously constantly checking it. You could look into 5 kilo spools, but supplies on those are pretty short and you only have a few options there. Most stuff comes in, 1 kilo of spools. And so you need some kind of system. The Infinity Flow S1 works great for this. But if you're going to put out a machine like this, you can't expect people to use 1 kilo of spools when many of the prints take like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kilos just to do one of these really ginormous prints. Further to that, I don't know if this is really even feasible, but some kind of draft mitigation. I'm not saying you need to fully enclose a machine of this size, but it should have some kind of like screen or something that comes standard with it just to bring down the chance of drafts, because this machine is so huge. My plexiglass panels do a pretty good job of keeping that down, and I haven't noticed any issues of draft being the real cause of it, but I can't imagine people putting this just anywhere in their house and, if someone opens a door and a draft comes in and it ruins their print. The machine is so large, thermal expansion and contraction is such a big deal with this. You've got to have something to bring that down. I'm not saying you need a heated enclosed chamber, but something. Next point, a single bed. They obviously copy pasted a 400 by 400 millimeter bed on this machine from the Neptune 4 or whatever it was, and they give you 4 plates with it. That's just insane to me. It's probably so they could break up the power supplies and use off-the-shelf parts in the manufacturing. But this is a Kickstarter machine, and they only batch make it and sell it in batches. If you're going to do that, get bespoke parts, have it machined, so people don't have to buy the one print sheet or something like that. Yeah, keep your 4 beds, but give us 1 PEI sheet, because that's just, with leveling, it's an issue. You have to get it absolutely perfect, because we're talking about like hundreds of a millimeter Z offsets on these things. And so if the nozzle's moving by and one of your beds is a little higher, it's going to clip it and contact it. So 1 print bed. Next thing, oversized motors and parts. Again, a lot of this stuff is like stuff you see on other machines. They took off-the-shelf components, just the largest size of them, and slapped it on here, and it's sufficient, it works, but I feel as if this contacted something and was dragging it around and stressed the motor, then it's stressing the motor to a degree of which it's putting it at its upper limit. And I don't think these parts should be really subjected to that. I think they really need to, again, make a big printer. Don't make a small printer big. And finally, my last point, which no one's going to agree with me on this, I think you change it from Cartesian kinematics to Core XY. And I know how insane that sounds. Like, are you serious? Are you really serious? But I think it would be, I don't know how you'd pull it off. Well, I know how you'd pull it off. It'd just be the same sort of kinematics as anything else. It would eliminate you pressing and bumping on this gantry and screwing anything up, because this whole gantry is working on so many planes. It's just like, this is the new dance. It's hot in the club right now. If you bring the print bed up and put all the effort into the Z, then you can sort of stabilize it more. Now I know transferring up microscopic amounts of measurements up these screws, maybe that's an issue, but I think that if you try to go Core XY, you're going to get better results, you're going to get a more controlled result, and you're gonna be able to keep your print head in one spot. That's gonna give you the option of not having these long chains of filament, these long wires everywhere. Sure, your heat bed's gonna move up and down, and that's like a lot of weight to be moving up and down, but it's not like it's being supported by belts. It's being supported by Z-screws, and I think it's feasible. I think it's doable. I just don't know about the manufacturing costs, and I don't know about really any of these things. But again, this is just my experience dealing with this homunculus of a machine over the past, I guess, close to a year now, and being in the middle of giving it open heart surgery and really not knowing kind of how to proceed, because no matter what I seem to do, different motors, different wires, doing the same thing, and it failed mid-print. It's not like, oh yeah, a meteor smashed through and suddenly my printer doesn't work. That didn't happen. This just kind of happened in the middle of a print, and then suddenly the motor doesn't work, and then the second motor doesn't work. It's an identical motor, just a shorter shaft. Again, you're gonna find out about all that, and I'll chronicle all that in the vlogs coming up, but I felt like compelled to sort of say, like, this is where we are with the Orange Storm Giga, because I know a lot of people watch for it, and I get a lot of views out of it, and that's why I keep going back to it, because people watch for it, because it's a different printer. There's a billion channels out there with Bamboo A1 machines. How many more videos do you really need to see about Bamboo A1? Not a lot of people have this, and so a lot of people are interested in it, and you know, this is my experience with it. I'd love to know what you think about those points, if you're really into 3D printing, if you're extremely into 3D printing, those points that I was kind of, you know, realizations that I was coming to with how big printers should be made, because this ain't it. It's still a steal, in my opinion. 2,500 bucks for a printer this big, even working on it, you know, because I would be fine working on this machine if I didn't do videos. Because I do videos, I hate working on this machine, because there's only so much you're gonna be able to tolerate watching of me trying to fix this machine before you tune out. And so I feel like rushed and under the gun to get this fixed and back up to printing. And so it's like a week and a half now. I'm waiting on parts and I can't get it. And so it's like, you know, this is not fun for me to do this. I wanna be printing a consumer grade product like this. You shouldn't have to, you know, be tinkering like this. You wouldn't go buy a car and expect to have to work on it yourself 2 months later. There's an amount of time you expect it to work. And again, I get it, it's a large printer, it's different. It's gonna come with the territory, but that's just my opinion. Should probably work those things out. Anyway, let me know what you think about all those points in the comments below. It feels good. Whew, that's cathartic to get all that out. Let me know what you think about that in the comments below. Be sure to like the video because it's a nice thing to do, and subscribe for more content like this. I'm The Technicals. See you next time.